Hello, and welcome to A Disc and a Game, where I play a game and listen to a music record. And as I do it, comment on both of them. For this very first episode, I've chosen the game Enter the Gungeon and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds debut album, From Her to Eternity, released in 1984 on Mute Records. And we're starting with Avalanche. Avalanche is a Leonard Cohen cover, and the first cover of this album. If you're a fan of Leonard Cohen or have heard the original song, you'll notice how different they are. Cohen's version features fast guitar strings plucking, giving the sense of a ongoing avalanche in full motion. Whereas, as you can hear, Cave's version builds up the atmosphere. So, even though they are contrasting in their execution, there is a sense of similarity in their overall theme of shame and disgust.
You did not raise me there. Your laws do not compel me now to kneel
and speaking of the game, I've chosen Enter the Gungeon because it's what I currently play a lot right now. Generally, I like this type of roguelikes, and The Binding of Isaac is a game that I've played and finished many times. But compared to Binding of Isaac, this is much more difficult. So I haven't actually finished the game. That is, beaten the last boss, and I've only encountered him maybe 10 times so far. I'm playing as the pilot because, well, first I got used to him, and while some people prefer the hunter, I did not find that I get more drops from the little doggy compared to the pilot. Plus, with the pilot I have the extra backpack and the lockpick. And the pilot, I found it's pretty great to play, especially if you want to collect things to unlock the elevator shortcuts. When you know that you are not sure. It is your turn, my beloved one. It is your flesh that I wear. Cave is actually really great. He's really great at making covers. His third album with the Bad Seeds is just covers. And on his second album, the B-side to the single Tupelo features a cover of his own song, The Six Strings That Do Blood, which is a song of the birthday party, his first real band, so to say. And here we have Cabin Fever. A claustrophobic, anxious, anxiety-ridden track, reminiscent of the old post-punk songs he played with the birthday party. His previous band. This boss is one of the easier ones, I find. It's pretty easy to dodge, especially if you keep your distance. I usually just go for one at a time. But it also depends which kind of weapon I get. Sometimes I'd get a really bad weapon, so it would take longer. I really like on this track the guitar, that pulsating guitar sound, courtesy of Blixabageld from the band Einstürzen Neubauten, who played guitar for Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds until, if I remember correctly, Nocturama in 2003, or was it the next one, and then quit the band. Anyway, Blixa plays a Fender Mustang, and if you've heard Einstürzen Neubauten, you'll notice that Blixa plays the guitar like he hates it. That's what it's been described like, because he plays a lot with his I think it's a Fender amplifier to create these sounds on his guitar. And here, this pulsating sound, it's really clever performed. It goes from the left ear to the right. Whenever I get this weapon, I like to take my time. So usually I'll just shoot a couple of rounds and let the enemies die of poison. But other times I'm getting a bit impatient and trigger happy. Right, now I'm looking to do the rooms that I've missed. Try to find where the hidden passage is. And this track is Well of Misery, which reminds me a lot of blues chain gang, blues songs, American chain gang. If you've seen the movie, the Coen brothers movie, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? You know, at the side of the road, a prisoner would sing, and the others would fill in.
I dare not slumber where the night winds whistle. I dare not slumber where the night winds whistle. Lest her creep and soul clutch this heart of thistle.
One of Cave's favorite artists is John Lee Hooker. So American blues music has been hugely influential on him. And also Johnny Cash, who he covered on the cover album. He covered the song The Singer.
In that well of misery, and down that well of misery, hangs a bucket full of sorrow. Hangs a bucket full of sorrow, and it swings slow and aching like a bell.
I found the hidden room, and it's one of the things that bother me a bit, the RNG, the randomness of the game and the drops. I found it a bit more fair in The Binding of Isaac. But still, it's this is a really awesome, charming little game. And especially the pilot, he has a very cute swagger as he walks. So that's one of the reasons that I play with him. Also the huge discount at the store.
And the same God that abandoned her, same God that abandoned her, is in turn abandoning me, has in turn abandoned me. Deep in the desert of despair,
So now it's time to take on the boss. Oh. This one's a bit of a bugger, but fairly easy. I think the only real problem is those minions that pop out. So there's more projectiles to dodge. You might think this it's a pretty depressing song, and it's one of the themes and feelings of the whole album. It's an album that's malignantly sick and angry and sad. And now we have one of the strongest tracks on the album. The title of the album, From Her to Eternity. It's one of those post-punk classics, I like to call them. And when I saw Nick Cave live, this was during the Dig Lazarus Dig tour. This was the last song that he and the band played. So it's still one of those songs that might pop up live.
Walking barefoot across the woods, all through this lonesome night. I hear her crying too, her tears come splashing down, leaking through the cracks, down up on my face. Catch 'em in my mouth, catch 'em in my mouth, catch 'em in my mouth.
It's a song on which all of the seats contributed. Nick Cave's then girlfriend, Anita Lane, is credited as lyrics writer along with Cave. And the music is Cave and basically all of the seats, so it was a band effort. And it shows. It's because on a lot of songs, Cave's poetry or piano dominates the track. But you can hear that this is band effort. Oh yeah, there's the Blixas grinding guitar. It's a love song, an obsessive love song. The love song of a fragmented, diseased mind, as I interpret it.
She's wearing those blue stockings up bed, and standing like this with my ear to the ceiling. Listen, I know it must sound absurd, but I can hear the most melancholy sound I ever heard. Walk and cry, walk and cry. Kneel and cry, and kneel and cry. From her to eternity.
That piano melody, always makes me a bit jumpy when I hear it and scared.
Why the ceiling still shakes? Shake, shake, shake.
Yeah, now I got the cash. Brick of cash. I find that in a couple of cases it doesn't work. Either that or the level doesn't have a secret room. Sometimes it's difficult to spot the little guy showing you where the crack in the wall is. My companion, the little pig, he's just adorable. They actually did a pretty good job with these helpful NPCs. The hunter's little dog, the little piggy, and then, of course, the cop, who is really close to retiring, you know. Playing on the trope of cops in action movies getting killed when they're about to retire. But I think that trope is only in a few movies, like Lethal Weapon and then The Last Action Hero, which itself was a satire. Whew, and now a moment of respite, the second and last cover of the album, In the Ghetto. Elvis Presley's In the Ghetto.
As the snow flies on a cold and grey Chicago morn, a poor little baby child is born in the ghetto.
This was also the single for the album.
His mama cried.
Funny thing about this track was that the label Mute gave Nick directly money to hire props and location to film a music video to promote the single, and as he confessed on the video collection for the Bad Seeds, the Best Of album released in '98 was followed by a VHS and DVD collection, and before each music video Nick and the bandmates would reminisce a bit about the circumstances regarding the recording of the videos, and he said that he wasted most of the money on drugs.
So he starts to
hence the very lo-fi quality of the finished product, which was basically just him in a suit, and the background was, something thrown together at the last minute. The lesson was don't give the artists the money directly,
A crowd gathers round an angry young man face down on the street with a gun in his hand in the ghetto. Oh, people, don't you understand? Oh, this child needs a helping hand.
This one is one of those enemies I hate the most. And it takes forever to kill all of them for the Hunter Challenge. It's very strange, but when it comes to the Hunter Challenges, you have to kill a certain amount of enemies, whenever you're given the task of killing a certain enemy, I feel like those enemies don't spawn as often as they usually would. So I'm having to kill 25 of those bad guys, and many deaths later, I think I have like 3 or 4 left. That's really strange, that dynamite just resting there. It's usually not a good weapon, this poison and elemental, if you're planning to do a speed run, because you'll have to dodge trying to not get poisoned or burned. And this one is The Moon is in the Gutter, a drunkard's lullaby, if you will. You know, soaked in misery and cheap gin.
Blind my eye with opal cataracts as I cut through.
Here the bass on this album was provided by Barry Adamson from the band Television, and he was a new addition to the Seeds. Him on the bass and Hugo Race on guitar as well. And that's because on drums we have Mick Harvey. Oh, there we go, the little guy. Giving the tracked wall solution. Alright, so Mick Harvey and Blixa Bargeld have played with the Bad Saint. At least Blixa Bargeld played guitar with the Birthday Party. Blixa played a couple of shows live whenever Roland Howe couldn't. And Mick Harvey started first as a guitarist in the Birthday Party, and then switched to drums when Phil Calvert, the drummer, quit, and continued as a drummer for the Black Seeds up until 87 and 88, when they got another drummer and Mick switched to guitar. Mick was Nick's most long-lived collaborator. He quit the band after Dig Lazarus tour, so I had a chance to see the Seeds live with Mick Harvey, even if I didn't see Blixa. This one is called Saint Huck, which shows Nick's prowess as a poet. And it's a southern gothic in the style of Faulkner. And here Saint Huck is actually, it's Cave. Cave sees himself as Saint Huck or Saint Elvis, you know, this Ulysses character that travels from town to town.
Saint Huck.
this is a relatively easy boss. The only problem is dodging those things. And here I die. But Piggy to the rescue. So I'm getting basically a new lease on life. Try to make it worth it. I have the Shields Maiden, and I'm really trying to struggle how to work it, because it's a really great item. So if you time it correctly, you can dodge pretty much anything. I also like the design of this guy, who looks like the Vedic god Shiva. Sort of a mix between Shiva and Cthulhu. And I fail horribly in using the shield. But looks like I've beat the boss. All thanks to the little piggy.
Still hockey benches on whistling, and death reckons till the very time is up. Saint Hacker, yeah, Hacker. Saint Hacker. Hey, undergo Hawker, minus pocket watch and wallet gone. Skin shrink wraps his skeleton. No wonder he gets thinner, what with his hot and skinny dinner. Saint of Casino Vista, Saint of Casino Vista. Do you recall that song you used to sing along? Shifting the river trade on that old steamer. Life is but a dream. You trade in the mighty old man river for the dirty old man latrine. The brothel shifter, the hustle and the bustle and the greenbacks rustle, and all sexy cash, and the randy cars, $2 fuckers.
If you're wondering why I'm always flipping tables and these caskets, is even though there are no enemies, I'm having PTSD from playing Diablo on the PC. It apparently increased the drop rate of items if you smashed all the barrels in the dungeons and checked everything. So whenever I see something that can be flipped or destroyed in a game, I have to do it. See ya, Hawk. Good luck. A smoke ring hovers above his head. And the rats and the dogs and the men all come and put a bullet through his eye. And I should probably use a different gun, but force of habit, I guess, you know. Sometimes you know you should be switching to a different weapon, but you know, the one you've used for so long, you're so used to it that you don't really care. Even if it means you might actually, it might actually take longer to kill enemies, or it provides some drawback compared to other better guns. This room is so big, I never know when it's out of enemies. Always checking behind me for those small buggers with red eyes. And this one is Wings of Flies. According to Nick, his least favorite song on the album. And it's written together with Peter Sutcliffe and Jim G. Thirlwell, aka Fetus. His artist name was Fetus in the 80s, making industrial and post-punk. You might perhaps know him as being doing the lead music and theme for the Venture Brothers and the Archer cartoons. So yeah, Jim started in the 80s, much in the same vein as this album, post-punkish gothic rock music. No, the song, I think it's a sort of a grotesque and pointless version of the She Loves Me Not game that kids play with flowers.
Witness a gate crash, my tiny hell, with some obscene tater. If you want to talk to me about love and peace, you might also really be happy to accommodate. She loves me not. Oh, hey, time to drown our little fire. Feel free to keep the ashes. Just bye-bye. Bye-bye. Now bye-bye. I'll see you in a pig's eye. I will be one in need of no one. I'm my last and deepest dive. Hey,
Nice.
I'm a
The stinger is awesome. Sometimes I get it on the first level, and it makes the boss battles a piece of cake.
Oh, she loves me. No, she loves me not. Oh, welcome to Solitary Flyer. You see it land on the rim of my glass. It's going around and around and around and around. Look, I just another heart to let it flash. I grabbed it in my paw, snatched it up. And then I held it to my ear. You could hear it scream. You could hear it scream and scream and scream till it screamed not. Hey Joe, you wanna hear about this scream?
And this one is the album's longest song, called A Box for Black Pole, which is I like to call it a requiem for the birthday party. His former band. It's sort of like a funeral dirge.
I'm inquiring on behalf of his soul.
Black Pole is the acronym from birthday party. Black Pole PP, birthday party.
Just who will dig the hole when you're done ransacking his room?
Cave and his mates met at the Arts University in Australia and got together and formed a band. This would be the Boys Next Door, which would transform into the birthday party. I think the Boys Next Door only released like one EP, and then changed the name to Birthday Party. And they immediately started getting attention due to Nick's charisma, his scene presence, his poetry, which is angry, and also Roland Howard's guitar playing. It was unlike anything done at that time. Howard was playing a Fender Jaguar, and he was just like Blixabageld. He was creating all these haunting melodies and effects only with his amplifier, and I think he had a overdrive or distortion. Anyway, he only had didn't have lots of effects, maybe one pedal. So after a couple of albums, they moved to London, and that's when the band really took off and started doing Europe tours.
We just come to get the facts. We just come to get the facts.
At some point in '83, they felt exhausted. Also, there were some artistic differences between Howard and Cave, and so they decided to disband. Cave then got Blixa. Mick Harvey also followed along, and they contacted Barry Adamson, and they formed the Nick Cave and the Caveman, and they did a Australian tour under that moniker. He then changed the name to the Bad Seeds for the release of this debut album. And Nick is an avid reader, and the Bad Seeds name was a reference to the 1956 movie directed by Marvin LeRoy, in turn based on a play set up by Maxwell Anderson, which in its turn also based on the novel The Bad Seed by William March.
For I've done that 100 times before, oh, he's 100 times or more. And why should I dress his wounds when he has wounded my dress nightly right across the floor?
I really hate this high priest. It's true bullet hell, and unfortunately I'm still very bad at using my shield. And I'm dead. But since there are still a couple of songs left, spring up from the grove of life, spring up into death. The Gatling Gull is a relatively easy boss if you're stuck in this room particularly, because you can, turn corners really fast and dodge. Also, I really love this weapon. You're throwing bees because they are homing, so you don't have to aim. And they gang up on your enemy and they do their work. And he's dead.
Below lies Black Paul under the upper, but above and beyond the surface, flat fall there. And all the angels come on down, and all you men and women crowd around, and the old widows weeping into their skates, and all the little gals and the little boys, and the scribes with their pens poised, all the hullabaloo, and all the noise, all the hullabaloo, all the noise, all of the hullabaloo, all of the noise. Clears his throat of black blood. And Black Paul singing like a lonely boy. Well, I have cried 1,000 tears, and I cried
the idea behind this video, the gameplay was, I wasn't really sure how much I would talk about the music or the gameplay, but I wanted at least to give a somewhat entertaining gameplay while you listen to the music.
I've been a bad man, but Lord knows I've done some good things too. But I confess my soul will never rest until you've
Oh yeah, here's that swagger.
Until you've built a box for my
smiling, walking down the street, singing the Saturday Night Fever song. Oh, that's what I imagine. Oh no. Oh, I hate this one. Or rather, this isn't really bad. It's actually the other guy is Buick, a guy who is more difficult. And the last song is a 1987 re-recording of From Her to Eternity, and this was made for the soundtrack of the movie Wings of Desire, aka Der Himmel über Berlin, directed by Wim Wenders. It's one of my favorite movies, and Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds are featured in it. They play on stage, they play 2 songs, the Carney and this one. And I think this is a superior version. Also, I highly recommend the movie. It also features Crime and City Solution, which was a band helmed by Simon Bonney, old friend of the Birthday Party and Nick Cave from Australia. And Mick Harvey was playing the drums, and Roland Howard from the Birthday Party, along with his brother Harry Howard, who were playing the guitar and the bass. And I really love Crime and the City Solution. The movie, Der Himmel über Berlin, is actually, you may know about it because it was remade in 1998 or 9 as the movie City of Angels with Nicolas Cage.
And I know standing like this with my ear to the ceiling. Listen.
This movie, Der Himmel über Berlin, is much more awesome. It's very poetic, it has a poetic cinematography, a poetic script, and Berlin in the 1980s is, you know, it's very romantic in many ways. The end of the Cold War, and it was really interesting to see both the underground subcultures, the fans that were going to the Crime and the City Solution, Nick Cave gigs, and then the everyday life of normal people. So I highly recommend it. And it's been released on Criterion, so you know it's good. The record is coming to a close, and I hope you enjoyed the music and the content. Thank you for watching.